Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Israeli forces have killed 8 Palestinians across Gaza in the past 24 hours, according to Gaza's health ministry. At least 118 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli attacks on Gaza since Friday, when Trump called on Israel to halt its strikes. This is Ibrahim Deeb, a displaced Palestinian from Jabalia.
This is a genocide, a humanitarian extermination. We are suffering during this current war from poverty, famine, displacement, and all types of things that disgust human beings. You look at people now, those alive are just like those dead, just because of war.
Meanwhile, Israel's far-right National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir prayed at the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound in Jerusalem today. Hamas condemned Ben-Gvir's visit as deliberately provocative.
We are 2 years after the terrible massacre here on the Temple Mount, where there is victory. Every house in Gaza has a picture of the Temple Mount. And today, 2 years later, we are winning on the Temple Mount. We are the owners of the Temple Mount.
Trump's special Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff and Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner are attending the Gaza ceasefire talks in Egypt today. Hamas and Israel are holding indirect negotiations based on President Trump's proposed 20-point plan. Qatar's Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani and Turkey's intelligence chief Ibrahim Kalin are also set to attend the talks. A senior Hamas official told Reuters Hamas negotiators in Israel have exchanged lists of prisoners and hostages who would be released if a ceasefire deal is reached. Here's Qatar's foreign ministry spokesperson Majid Al-Ansari.
Now it's early to talk about any alternatives to any plan. We're talking about implementing this plan, Trump's plan, and applying this plan. All parties have agreed to this plan, so there are no obstacles now in terms of agreeing to the 20 points contained in President Trump's plan. The obstacles now are in implementation.
Israeli forces intercepted another Gaza-bound humanitarian aid flotilla Tuesday. The Freedom Flotilla Coalition and Thousand Madlenes to Gaza are operating a new fleet of 11 vessels with 150 people on board, including doctors, and initially said 3 boats were attacked 120 nautical miles off the coast of Gaza. Soon after, all boats were intercepted by Israel. In a statement, the group said, quote, "Sources so far indicate the unarmed crew aboard, including doctors, journalists, and elected officials, have been abducted, as well as the vital aid worth over $110,000 in medicines, respiratory equipment, and nutritional supplies that were destined for Gaza's starving hospitals. Their whereabouts remain unknown," they said. The U.S. government shutdown has entered its 8th day. A draft memo is reportedly circulating in the White House stating hundreds of thousands of workers who've been furloughed due to the government shutdown may not automatically receive their back pay once the government reopens. The memo reportedly states Congress must approve new funding for the workers to get paid. Speaking to reporters yesterday, President Trump again threatened to use the shutdown to implement mass firings and cut public programs.
You know, one of the things that we have is some advantage, you could say, but because of the shutdown, which I think they made a big mistake, we're able to take out billions and billions of dollars of waste, fraud, and abuse, and they've handed it, on a silver platter. And, Russell Vought, he's a serious person, very serious person, and he's sitting there and he's getting ready to cut things.
Meanwhile, the Federal Aviation Administration warned of staffing shortages at airports in Nashville, Boston, Dallas, Chicago, Philadelphia, and air traffic control centers in Atlanta, Houston, and the Dallas-Fort Worth area. At Burbank area in California Airport, the air traffic control tower went unmanned for hours. Union leaders for air traffic controllers and airport security screeners said the situation will worsen as the shutdown drags on. Hundreds of National Guard troops from Texas have arrived in Chicago as President Trump escalates his crackdown. Trump has labeled Chicago a war zone, referring to the growing protests in opposition to his mass immigration raid. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson this week signed an executive order banning ICE agents from using city-owned property, such as parking lots, as staging grounds for agency raids. The American Civil Liberties Union's accusing the Trump administration of intentionally subjecting immigrants to inhumane conditions at the notorious Louisiana prison known as Angola, a former slave plantation that's recently been used to incarcerate immigrants and asylum seekers. A lawsuit filed by the ACLU Monday argues detainees are being punished for crimes for a second time in violation of the Double Jeopardy Clause because the government failed to deport them within 6 months of a removal order. In their petition, ACLU lawyers write, quote, "The anti-immigrant campaign under the guise of making America safe again does not remotely outweigh or justify indefinite detention in America's bloodiest prison without any of the rights afforded to criminal defendants," unquote. An investigation by Wired magazines revealed ICE is bolstering its social media surveillance nationwide. Federal records show ICE is looking to hire more contractors in the state of Vermont to expand its so-called National Criminal Analysis and Targeting Center, located inside a largely unmarked property in Williston. The surveillance center is similar to another ICE facility in Santa Ana, California. Contractors will reportedly have the ability to collect personal data from Facebook, Instagram, and X of immigrants targeted by ICE, as well as their family members, co-workers, and other associates. Earlier this year, ICE signed a multi-million-dollar contract with the controversial surveillance tech giant Palantir to track and deport immigrants. That agreement was an extension of a contract with Palantir first signed by the Biden administration. Attorney General Pam Bondi testified in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee Tuesday, sparring with Democrats who accused her of doing President Trump's bidding and weaponizing the Justice Department to go after his opponents. She was also questioned on National Guard deployments and the Epstein files.
Something else. There's been public reporting that Jeffrey Epstein showed people photos of President Trump with half-naked young women. Do you know if the FBI found those photographs in their search of Jeffrey Epstein's safe or premises or otherwise? Have you seen any such thing?
You know, Senator Whitehouse, you sit here and make salacious remarks, once again trying to slander President Trump left and right, when you're the one who was taking money from one of Epstein's closest confidants, I believe, I could be wrong, correct me, Reid Hoffman, who was with Jeffrey Epstein on multiple occasions. And the senator sitting right next to you tried to block the flight logs from being released. Yet you're grilling me on President Trump and some photograph with Epstein? Come on.
Former FBI Director James Comey is set to appear in federal court to be arraigned today. He's facing 2 criminal charges, which include making a false statement to Congress and the obstruction of a congressional proceeding. Comey will be booked and fingerprinted at the federal courthouse in Alexandria, Virginia. Comes as an FBI agent was reportedly suspended after he refused to organize a perp walk of Comey into the courthouse before the media. The U.S. Supreme Court seemed poised in favor of removing Colorado's ban on LGBTQ+ conversion therapy for minors during oral arguments Tuesday. The challenge to Colorado's ban was brought forward by a Christian licensed counselor, Kaylee Charles, who argued the ban is a violation of her First Amendment rights to free speech and religion. Meanwhile, Colorado Solicitor General Shannon Stevenson argued Colorado's law regulates conduct, not speech. Here's Stevenson in court yesterday.
People have been trying to do conversion therapy for 100 years with no record of success. There is no study, despite the fact that people tried to advance this practice, that has ever shown that it has any chance of being efficacious.
Politico reports the Trump administration's considering options to privatize some $1.6 trillion in federal student loan debt. Officials with the Education Department and Treasury Department have reportedly been looking for private buyers to sell off a massive portion of the federal government student loan debt portfolio currently owed by an estimated 45 million people in the United States. The move would raise legal concerns and could further erode protections for borrowers as advocates continue to demand student loan cancellation. California Governor Gavin Newsom has signed a law aimed at combating anti-Semitism in schools, a move many educators have warned could lead to censorship and the targeting of pro-Palestine voices. Legislation will create an Office of Civil Rights that will provide training to school staff to identify what they believe is anti-Semitism. In a statement to the Associated Press, Teresa Montano with the California Faculty Association said, quote, teacher discourse on Palestine or the genocide in Gaza will be police misrepresented and reported to the anti-Semitism coordinator, unquote. Johnson & Johnson has been ordered to pay $966 million, close to $1 billion, to the family of a California woman who died of mesothelioma. A Los Angeles jury found Johnson & Johnson liable for the 2021 death of May Moore. She developed the rare cancer after years of using the company's talcum-based baby powder, which was contaminated with asbestos, a known carcinogen. This is the latest lawsuit amidst mounting litigation against Johnson & Johnson and comes just months after a federal judge rejected the company's attempt to settle all current and future lawsuits involving its baby powder by filing for bankruptcy. And Missouri's Attorney General subpoenaed Planned Parenthood in an effort to obtain medical and other confidential records of abortion patients. Planned Parenthood Great Plains, Planned Parenthood Great Rivers, and the ACLU of Missouri have said in response, quote, politicians have no place in the exam room with patients and their medical providers, and that's why we'll keep fighting for patients and their rights, unquote. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to make sure you never miss a video. And for more of our audience-supported journalism, go to democracynow.org, where you can download our news app, sign up for our newsletter, subscribe to the daily podcast, and so much more.